So, quick question. Box store versus...
Plumbing supply house.
I forgot. I'm sorry.
That might look a little too scripted.
Yeah, anyway. Okay, so what's the difference between the two?
Okay, so that's a great question. A lot of our customers call and they want us to install a toilet, install a faucet, install a shower valve or whatnot. They've bought it from one of the big box stores, okay? Okay, well, that's fine, and I understand why people do that, but one, there's a labor cost, and two, a lot of people get creative. They're going to go do it, and they can't fit something in their car, and they're all upset, and they're making multiple trips. So I would just say beware. But two, the most important, two big factors here is one, if you want to call our company and have us install something you purchase at a store, we cannot warranty it. And there's a couple different reasons behind in the background for us, but we will not warranty it. We can warranty our labor and the work we do. If something starts dripping or something like that, some install, we can back that up. So we don't warranty. But two, believe it or not, some of the quality on those is different. If you look at the internal guts of a faucet, for instance, like a kitchen faucet, meet me at a supply house. I'll have you hold, for instance, a Kohler faucet in your left hand, and then you go to a big box store and buy one of their brand, and not even brand, but a Kohler faucet hold in your right hand. I guarantee you the box is going to weigh a lot differently. And the reason being is the one from the supply house has real cast metal. The framing, the cast brass behind it is heavier. They use stronger components, ceramic cartridge, and real actual metal nuts and bolts to supply that thing down, braided hoses. You go to a big box store, Kohler faucet or a Moen faucet, it's going to be different. It's going to be lighter. They use cheaper guts is what they say. The different internal parts are cheaper. For instance, if you look at that nut that secures it anchors it to the counter, it's plastic, but it's painted brass. They make it look brass. The little shaft it's painted brass. It's not real brass. It can literally crack. If you over tighten something, it can crack right there. Not only that, but the quality too. As water's running through that faucet, you're going to find out about 6 months to a year, the base of it's going to start the color is going to start to deteriorate. If you have hard water in your water or too much chlorine, it's going to destroy the faucet. Whereas the one bought from the supply house is going to hold a lot longer. Not in every single case, but in most cases. So there actually is a quality difference. One's bought at professional plumbing supply houses that we provide, which they can go to, but versus a big box store. Which they can go to, but there are some restrictions, right? Because don't you have to have a GC license or a plumbing license? Yeah, really? Some of them, in some purchases, yes. And not only that, but it's not an easy buying process. You got to go stand at a parts counter, and there's all these other guys. A lot of them don't tend to work with customers who walk in, but some of them do have showrooms, but you're going to pay more. But either way, it's the same difference. You have to get the better product. So you're going to pay a little bit more, but the quality's going to be there. And it's going to last, which in the long run is the better choice. That's why when people call us, we have tested our stuff so thoroughly. We have a great rapport with our suppliers. I buy from 3 or 4 major suppliers. I know if I buy a Bradford white water heater, if I put it in, they have an impeccable return process. First of all, we've only, out of a 300 we put in, we probably going to replace 2 or 3 of them. They have a great, just brand name, great product. They won a JD Power Awards product award. And in the event something goes wrong, a rare leak or something happens, we pull that off, bring it straight to our supply house, they swap it right there, no questions asked. So, the stuff we've installed, we've tested, we have that buying rapport, and we know what works and what doesn't. So when people buy stuff off Amazon or they buy from box stores, just be careful. I'm not saying there aren't some decent deals out there, just be careful. So okay, well, that's great to know, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. The audience is going to definitely appreciate that information. Sure. We want to take a phone call because there's a lot of questions that are out there, and in fact, let me see if we're ready to put them through. Are we good, luck? Oh, our first call. Oh, this is going to be great.
Hello.
Yeah. Hey, can you hear us?
Yes.
Awesome. Welcome to the Jon Gil Podcast Show. How are you?
Great. Thanks for asking.
Hey, thanks so much for calling in. This is exciting. This is actually the first time that we do this with the live calls. So definitely appreciate you being on the show. And go ahead. On this segment, we're obviously talking plumbing. Do you have any questions for Bryan?
Of course. So last night I was trying to sleep in my apartment complex, and my water heater, it kept making this rackety noise, like pop, 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 pop.
Like a popping sound, right?
Yeah, and I couldn't really Google it,
Yeah.
It's not really specific.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear from a professional like you, Rocket Plumbing.
Yeah. That's a great question. We get this one a lot. So I think what he's describing is like a popping sound in the water heater.
Okay.
So this is very interesting. So we get this one a lot. And even early in my career, because I was a new construction plumber for years, and then I got into service. And I thought I knew it all. And I knew a lot about new construction. But when you get into like, breaking down like, oh, here's a pump or here's a switch, it's like you got to learn. And I learned learning curve. I didn't know how to always answer this question. What I've discovered, first question I would ask is, how old is the water heater? That's just a common sense question.
That must be, yeah.
You'd be shocked how old water heaters could be. I've been in stuff that was from Sears, and they have that pastel blue. They've been installed in the late 70s and early 80s. I'm not kidding. And they're still working. It's like, wow. But the first question I ask is, how old is the heater? Right now, I'm telling people the life expectancy in a water heater is anywhere from 7 to 10 years before you're on borrowed time. Now, they can last longer, but if you're at the 7-10 year mark, you have to have it looked at, possibly replaced. But in this particular case, what's happening is, there is inside the cylinder of that water heater, there's a cylinder tank. Now, if common sense is if water's flowing through a pipe all the time, it's never really sitting in the pipe. It's just swishing through all the time. Whereas if you have a stationary product like a water heater, there's a tank inside there, and water's just building up. Well, what happens at the bottom of the heater? How does it ever get fluctuated?
Right.
How does it ever get flushed through the pipes? It never does. It just sits there. So all that sediment, you got sediment there, you got calcium buildup, you got chlorine, you got hard water deposits, maybe rust from your pipe. It's sitting at the bottom of the heater. Well, over time, it layers and layers and layers and layers and layers. So all the most important burning, all the heating components, the heating element at the bottom of your water heater is trying to heat that tank. That's what it's trying to do. When you have layers and layers and layers of sediment built up, it starts to disrupt the burning. The heating element, and now all of a sudden you got issues. You got this dense layer there, and you're trying to heat the water. It's killing the efficiency on the water heater. You're not going to get the water recovery. When you're going to take a hot shower, it's going to take longer because they're trying to burn through this layer. And when I've drained these out, it's so dense. It's like paint chips. It's dense all together. And in this case, I don't know the exact particular science, but the burner's basically struggling, and the water's just making a popping noise. And almost every time I've dealt with this, there's dense sediment sitting at the bottom of the tank. So you get this popping noise. It's just disrupting the whole heating element process. That's the name of it.
That's amazing. That's amazing that you can diagnose.
Well, when you get that calling off, in my first few years, I was like, boy, what is this? And I'm checking for rattling pipes and stuff. And no, it's sediment at the bottom of the tank. Now, here's how you rectify this, okay? And this goes to every homeowner. Every year, you should be flushing your water heater. Most people never, ever, ever think to do it, nor do they ever do this. Maybe 1 out of 100 homeowners does it. At the bottom of your water heater, there's what's called a boiler drain. It looks like the little hose thing. You thread your hose on there. Some of them have the built-on handle. Some of them you have to get the screwdriver. You're supposed to take a short hose to your nearest floor drain. Make sure it's below the drain. The drain is below the boiler drain. Shut off the water of the heater. Drain it. Drain everything out. Now, that alone can flush some of the sediment out, and then you can fill it back up. But I go an extra mile. I take my pipe wrench. I spin that whole mechanism off, and now you got the hole right there in the pipe, and then I'll even take my wet vac. That's my shop vac. I'll stick it in there. I even have a little extension tube, and I can suck a lot of that out there. And then I'll reinstall a valve, and then I'll turn the water on. I'll flush even more of it out. In most cases, I can get 80 to 90% of it out. So now you flush it out, and then you turn the water back on, and the popping noise should go away. However, I will forewarn people that if it's gone too far and it's too dense, I've seen that literally layer up 5, 6, 7, 8 inches, and there's very little you can do except replace the water heater.
Interesting.
So that's why you're getting a popping noise in your water heater. It's sediment that's built up that's never been flushed out of that tank. That's what's happening. And it's killing the efficiency of the water heater. So
wow,
that's what's going on.
Amazing. That's amazing.
So does that answer your question then? Or
yeah, is he still on the line? Oh, okay. I think he hung up. But he was listening. But no, that's a great explanation. Well, fantastic. I appreciate you answering that, and thanks again.
No problem. Keep the calls coming.
Yeah.